About a week ago, Miss Anthropony, aka Map, did a video that he had promised he was going to do back when he did his review of the ending of the end. And that video was on the fact that Grogar was revealed to be Discord the whole time. Now, in case you guys don't know what I mean, let me explain. And I am doing this uncut, unscripted, and on the fly. Now, Grogar, ever since as early as season 7, in the episode Flurry of Emotions, when Twilight was reading a story to Flurry and a bunch of other young fillies, Grogar was set up to be this big bad, like the most powerful of all the villains that the main 6 could potentially face, or main 7 could potentially face. So ever since that episode, even in story, Grogar was built up to be this powerful bad that was even more powerful than the likes of Tyrek, Tyrek, Chrysalis, Cozy Glow, and if you want to lump him in there without knowing about the truth later on, even Discord. He's even more powerful than Sombra. Basically, all the villains he brought together, with the exception of a reformed Discord, he's more powerful than all of them combined. So, when it was announced that Grogar would potentially be the new villain for the final season, of course a lot of fans, young and old, long time and new, were excited. Because here's this big bad from G1 that's finally being brought in to Generation 4, into Friendship is Magic, and it made people speculate and wonder, what kind of a role is he going to play as this big bad? What kind of confrontation are we going to get between him and the main 7, and mostly him and Twilight? Is he going to corrupt Twilight? Everybody kept speculating about all the possibilities. About all the possibilities that we could get with Grogar being introduced as the main villain in Season 9, in the final season. However, that ended up being for naught, because apparently, despite the fact that throughout the season, in the moments we got with the villains, it was proven that Grogar was a lot more powerful than, like I said, Tyrek, Cozy Glow, and Chrysalis, and even Sombra combined. In the ending of the end, it was revealed that Grogar was actually Discord in disguise the whole time. And that brought up a lot of theories and a lot of pieces of the puzzle, or putting, I should say, pieces of the puzzle together after the reveal was made. Because there were moments throughout the season where even people like Dr. Wolf would question, well, wait a minute. If Grogar can sense his bell, how can he not sense it being in the same cave that he's in at that exact moment? How can he not sense its power? It made a lot of people wonder, what's going on? If he could sense it, why can't he sense the villains hiding the bell in the cavern and threaten to destroy them if they didn't reveal its location or where they were hiding it? A lot of people kept wondering, so after the reveal, that's when, again, like I said, all the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, and they started to realize, the reason he couldn't sense the bell is because it wasn't the real Grogar, it was actually just Discord. But now, people question, why did Discord do this? Why did Discord pretend to be this big, powerful bad, recruit all these villains, even help 2 of them escape from Tartarus, which is the friendship equivalent of, or the Equestria equivalent of hell? Why would he do this? Why would he bring these villains together, knowing of their treachery, knowing of the fact that they could potentially probably betray him? Why would he do this? And, well, everybody has their answer, everybody has their opinion. Let me give you mine. You see, the reason Discord did this, as he reveals in the episode, he, in his own strange, twisted, good-hearted way, had good intentions. He basically, long story short, wanted to give Twilight and the rest of the main seven the ultimate test. The ultimate test to prove whether or not they were ready to take on the roles of leader. Now, did he thoroughly plan things out? Not really. Was he anticipating a betrayal? Not really. In his own twisted sense of good-heartedness, Discord pretty much figured that if he could take three of the most sadistic villains that the main seven and their allies have ever faced and bring them together, make them work together, in his mind, it would finally teach these villains of what the value of friendship is about. Now, there was a bit of a brief moment, very brief, in Frenemies at the end where it almost seemed to work, where it almost seemed like that plan of Discord's could actually pay off. But it was for naught because Chrysalis just shrugged it off and basically reminded herself, no, that's not what it is. The friendship is not what the ponies are preaching and all that kind of deal. So anyway, that's why Discord did what he did, in my opinion. And as he kind of explained somewhat in the finale, he had good intentions, although he wasn't too sure about the betrayal of the three villains because, like I said, in his mind, from a viewer's perspective, he was going to teach them the value of friendship by bringing them together and making them realize how powerful friendship is and how valuable it is if you are together. Now, was it a good idea to try to attempt to do this with three of the most sadistic villains that the main seven have ever faced? Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't the best idea. But people may agree. I mean, I know KP, I love Kim Possible a lot, would agree that, yeah, Discord had good intentions. He just didn't think it out thoroughly, like, maybe I should have a backup plan just in case these three decide to betray me. But the other question before I get into that, actually, let me finish up on what I was saying. Some people, like I said, I love KP a lot, I love Kim Possible a lot, would say and agree that he had good intentions, he just didn't thoroughly plan things out or even come up with a backup plan. But the reasoning being that that's how Discord is. Discord will try to do things in a good-hearted way, but he'll do them in the way he only knows best. And that's basically by sprinkling a little bit or a lot of chaos on top of it to try to make it work. But the other question people point out, or the other thing people point out along with questioning it, is basically it's worded two ways. It's, did it ruin Discord's character? And it ruined Discord's character. Let's get into that. One thing that Miss Anthropony Map brought up was when the reveal was made, he basically felt that all it did was unravel, and regress Discord's character development that he had way back. Like, basically, this is a Discord, if you will, that would have pulled this kind of crap back in Season 4, if not Season 5. Not a Discord of Season 9. Now, Map also would bring up that this Discord that did what he did by revealing what he did, by pretending to be Grogar and freeing the villains, that it's kind of, maybe not so much, but kind of in the same equivalentness or equalness as what he did in Matter of Principles, mainly when it comes to the main seven. Because the one thing that Map brings out is that for the second time, without even letting her know what he was planning, or giving a hint to her, he puts the one pony he cares about the most in danger, and that's Fluttershy. And I will agree that if there's any pony in story that he should have at least acknowledged what he was doing, and knowing how close the friendship is, kind of have her keep it a secret as best as she can, it's Fluttershy. Like, basically, I agree that he should have taken Fluttershy aside and explained to her what he was planning to do, as far as, disguising himself as Grogar, freeing the villains, And even though Fluttershy would be disappointed and wanting to tell Twilight, Discord could easily tell her, look, if you value the friendship you've made with me, this close friendship, please keep it a secret because I want to see if Twilight is ready. This is going to be her ultimate test. Now, a positive about probably telling Fluttershy, if they wanted to do that, is Fluttershy could have at least in her own way given advice to Discord of how to approach certain situations and what he was doing. Like, maybe she could have let him know, hey, these three could potentially betray you. You need to have a backup plan. Or something like that. So, yeah, I believe that if he could have told anybody what he was doing or let any pony in on what he was doing, it should have been Fluttershy. Because at least she would know exactly, why the villains were there, and why he had become depowered and all that. She could have at least had a knowledge, and maybe even though it put her at odds with her friends for just a bit, she could explain that she's also known, but that in Discord's own unique way, because she's even pointed this out in several episodes where she's defended him, that in Discord's own unique, twisted, chaotic way, he had good intentions in mind. He just didn't know it was going to backfire the way it did. So yeah, I agree that, Discord putting Fluttershy in danger twice without her knowing what was going on may have not seemed like a good move on his part. I agree with that. And here's the thing, though. A lot of people, like I say, point out the fact that what Discord did here in Season 9, as I mentioned, is something he would have done back in Season 4 or 5. Now, the other thing is, did it ruin his character? Did it ruin Discord's character, I should say? Did it? Well, that's up for debate. You see, a lot of people will point out that, well, this is just Discord. That's how he is. He doesn't think sometimes because he's the Lord of Chaos. And a Lord of Chaos doesn't always have to think rationally when it comes to coming up with an idea, even if it has good intent or it doesn't. And that by doing this, even though it backfired in his face, Discord had, as I mentioned earlier, good intent. Now, that would come from those that would feel that it didn't ruin his character, it's just part of who he is. And that, they will agree, yeah, maybe he didn't think the plan through, but he, in his own twisted, chaotic way, had good intentions. Now, for those like Map that feel it ruined his character, that's understandable because he has had 7 seasons, or actually 6 seasons, to develop his character. I mean, Map even showed an example in Season 4's finale where basically he came to understand the true value of friendship. He came to understand that, that even if he thinks he can trust someone like a T-Rex, he really can't. So So by showing that scene where he gives that medallion to Twilight, which is basically the final key to unlock the rainbow powers, believe it or not, that is a good example of Discord progressing and his character developing and learning about friendship and valuing friendship, and knowing what to do and knowing when to do the right thing, kind of deal. And like I said, that's a good example to show. So I can understand when Map feels that scene right there in season 4, thanks to season 9 and its revelation of Discord being Grogar, was for naught. Because basically you take everything that Discord learned up to that point and even afterwards somewhat, and basically it's thrown out the window. Because it seems like in Map's mind and many others' minds, Discord didn't learn a thing. And that's understandable too. It's like everything Discord learned, every part of his character that was developed and progressed throughout previous seasons was thrown out the window for what he did here. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's understandable. You could see where they're coming from. But the question is, should it have been done? Should they have gone this route? Or should they have done what fans were hoping they would have done, and that's given us the real Grogar instead. I mean, like I said earlier, a lot of fans had theories. Or like I've said before, actually, a lot of fans have had theories. When it was announced that Grogar was going to be the big bad here, fans were always speculating what interactions they could get. What would Grogar's interaction be with the main 7, with Twilight? Some fans speculated, could he corrupt Twilight into Midnight Sparkle like we saw in Equestria Girls? What would his history be with the likes of Discord, Celestia Luna, Star Swirl? Would he find a way to manipulate and corrupt Spike into promising him, hey, I could tell you where your parents are, I could tell you your real origin? A lot of fans came up with theories and speculations of what could be. So when it was revealed that Grogar, like I said, this whole time was Discord in disguise, all those theories and everything fell to the wayside. It fell to the wayside, and a lot of fans were disappointed that all the theories and speculations, potentially good, if not, I can't wait for this moment to happen, theories and speculations, were thrown out the window. So again, what could be done to fix it? That's the question anybody else has. Like Map has that question and tries to answer it. Dr. Wolf, I'm sure, has had that question. Lightning Bliss, all of them. Silver Quill, Golden Fox, Josh Scorcher, aka Firebrand. I'm sure a lot of them have had that question like, okay, what could have been done to fix it? Even though we still get the epicness that was the ending of the end, what changes could have been made to make it better, especially with Grogar's revelation that he's actually Discord in disguise, being the only asterisk, if you will, that's in front of it. What could have been changed? What could have been fixed? Or how could it be fixed? Well, a lot of fans feel that the way it could be fixed is not do it. Instead, let the real Grogar appear. And let those moments that fans felt could have been great moments, if not, we're going to be talking about this moment in this scene for weeks and months and da-da-da. To them, the way you fix it, and I'm sure the writing staff, even though they've come out and said that the plan was to put the 3 main villains that are familiar with the main 7 as the final antagonists, I'm sure they know that they should have gone in the direction of making Grogar the real deal. Again, what I'm saying is that many fans feel that the best way this could have been done is to do exactly what they were hoping. Because the interactions, the moments you could have had, with Grogar and the villains, you could have still done what they were doing throughout most of the season. You could have had Grogar recruit Cozy Glow, recruit Chrysalis, Sombra, and Tyrek into his control and make them do what he wants them to do. You could have still done that. You could have still done the episode Frenemies, where they find the bell and try to hide it. But then when you get to the ending of the end, just when it looks like they're about to betray him and use the bell on him, the bell has no effect. That's the one difference. The bell has no effect. They try to drain his power, but there's no effect. And then he just uses his power to snatch it away from them, drain them of whatever power they have, and weaken them, and put them back into a weakened state, or a weakened near-death state, proving that he's more powerful than even they anticipated. And that he'll restore the power, or restore them back to normal and to kind of a semi-full power, only if they obey him and they follow his rule, which they would. Which, after trying to betray him and backfiring and having the power drain and having the bell drain their power and then having Grogar restore it with it, basically they would have no choice but to obey him, because they're like, man, I'm not messing with this guy. I'll do what he says. So, that's one thing fans could have been like, yeah, that's one thing I'm sure fans have thought of and realized, yeah, that could have been interesting if they would have done something like that. The other thing as well is what they've speculated could have been, and they feel was probably hinted at. If there's one thing about Equestria Girls they will agree on, is that sometimes the elements, as we've seen with Season 7's finale and somewhat Season 8, is that the elements of EQG do have a connection to FiM. So a lot of them pretty much felt, well, we got the corrupted version of Twilight Sparkle in Friendship Games, which it became Midnight Sparkle. What if we get that here? And Grogar to them would be the perfect catalyst for that to happen. And when you think about it, the Mean Six episode that they did back in Season 8 served as the perfect foundation for that to potentially happen, because we saw an opposite version of Twilight. So it would only make sense that we would get the actual Twilight to be corrupted and turned into that version of herself, if not more corrupted. And that it would take the power of friendship to help her. Heck, that's where you could put Starlight in her place when it comes to centering the rainbow magic, if you catch my drift. And that whole thing with Twilight and Starlight could have come full circle, because now it's Starlight that's trying to help her. So yeah, that's a potential that fans felt could have been done, and they felt was definitely thanks to EQG in Friendship Games, and even Season 8's Mean Six episode was strongly Easter egged, if not hinted at, being a possibility. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, or I've mentioned before, others have actually mentioned before, I think even Dr. Wolf has mentioned this in a video, you could have had Grogar even, and this is the truth, even try to manipulate Spike. Everybody always wonders, okay, where did Spike come from? How did Celestia find his egg? Who's his parents? What's his origin about? And here's the thing. Even though we kind of had a resolution to that in the 200th episode, here's the thing. You could have still had Grogar try to manipulate Spike into helping him, into betraying his friends by promising him, hey, I can help you find out who your parents are, your real parents are. I could tell you your origin. I could do this. I could do that. And you know what? for someone like Spike, it would be great character development, because Spike is always wanting to know where he's truly come from, where his true origins lie. You know, who is his parents? How was his egg found? All that. And Grogar could promise him that if he gives him information, certain information that he needs, or he betrays his friends. I mean, yeah, Spike would redeem himself after, he finds out that Grogar lied to him. It was just using him to get what he wants. But still, from a character development standpoint, in progression and storytelling, for someone like Spike, it would have worked. It would have been something fans would have liked to see, and really made, this whole season 9 with Grogar being the villain more interesting than it already was. It already was, I should say, and it would make him seem more menacing. I mean, think about that. He could corrupt someone like Twilight, make her into Midnight Sparkle. He could manipulate someone like Spike, and basically show in both instances that he is a very threatening, menacing villain if he's willing to go to these depths, to get what he wants, to get control of Equestria. And then you could even show his history, maybe have him interact with the Pillars and mostly Star Swirl. Have him interact with Discord and maybe find out that Discord's an amalgamation of all these different animals, an amalgamation / fusion of all these different animal types in existence. I mean, we saw that be a good we saw an example of that in, in the season 8 finale in part 2 of, School Rays. We saw it there. So who's to say that Discord isn't the same way? And that to show how powerful he is to not just Twilight, but to all of Equestria, he could overpower Discord even with Discord in his powerful state, and basically break him apart or separate him back into the animals he fused him from. That would have been great interaction. And then what about Celestia, Luna, and even Cadence? 3 of the most regalist princesses, as Twilight puts in the movie, confronting him. He could probably, think about the interaction fans would have wanted to see there. And fans have actually brought up the kind of interaction they would possibly see there. Like, Grogar could basically point out to Luna her history as, Nightmare Moon, and how she allowed her jealousy to corrupt her, and that it only takes one moment for that jealousy to be unleashed again, for that darkness that still resides within her to be unleashed again, and she could become Nightmare Moon permanently instead of temporarily. Like, there's no way of changing her back. And he could say the same thing about, Celestia, that on the outside she may all seem sweet and nice and everything, but deep down there is a darkness and a burning rage to rule all, and that for just like her sister, it only takes one moment for that to be unleashed, and thus Daybreaker could become her permanent form. Heck, he could even bring up the whole thing with Cadence. Like, Cadence is the Princess of Love, she's the Crystal Princess. But we've never understood but we've never had a chance to see what her corrupted form would be, except in the comics. So he could probably bring that up, which would be a nod to the comics, just like Discord brought up King Vorak to Tirek in part 2 of the ending of the end. Like I was saying, Discord referenced King Vorak to Tirek in the second part of the ending of the end. So, Grogar could have done the same with Cadence, but acknowledging possibly her being the opposite of who she is. As we see in that one comic story arc that they did, where they meet the opposite selves, the alternate world selves, so they're the exact opposites of who they are. So that potentially could have been something fans could have seen. Like I said, he could have interacted with the princesses, acknowledged that it takes just one moment for that rage and that darkness to come back out, or to come out and, and envelop them and turn them into both Nightmare Moon and Daybreaker. And then for someone like Cadence, that it would only take maybe a certain moment or so for her to become the opposite of who she is. So you had all these potential great moments that fans were theorizing about, speculating about, and wanted to see. And you still could have gone, and to them, you still could have done the story. You could have still had the ending that you did. I mean, you could have had the three villains, being, being against the main seven, going up against in the rest of Equestria, all the species and all that. You could still had your, as fans call it, your Lord of the Rings / Avengers moment, or your Lord of the Rings / Avengers Endgame moment. You could have still had all that. But then you could have really topped it off by having one last confrontation, like, okay, now is the time for Twilight to prove her worth as a leader, prove that she is ready to take the throne, by basically having her and her friends, if not her individually, go up against, after she's basically used the rainbow powers and everything and is still infused by it, have Twilight on her own go up against the likes of Grogar, and then do what Gusty couldn't do. You see, we find out that Gusty, she couldn't destroy the bell, so she had to hide it. But you could have Twilight in this epic battle, or whatever kind of battle you would have had between the two, go up against Grogar and do, like I said, what Gusty couldn't, and that's destroy the bell. Drain it completely of its power. As we saw, in the ending of the end, you could have still done that. And by virtue, you could have had, and then by virtue, not only would you destroy the bell, or even drain it of its power that Grogar has, and then use it, as we see later on, to restore everybody else's powers, but you still could have done, they still could have done the whole, let's turn the villains into stone, and then in addition to Chrysalis, Tyrek, and Cozy Glow, you could have added Grogar to that situation as well. So overall, a lot of people feel, and a lot of people would agree, that you could have still done what you did. You could have still done what you did. You could have, like I said, you could have still gone the direction they did, but at the same time, they wouldn't have had to ruin Discord's character in the process. They wouldn't have had to ruin his character, or regress his character, or throw away years of development out the window just to basically pull a troll move out of the pockets by revealing that Discord was Grogar the whole time. Like I said, you still could have done all of that. You still could have had, like I said, them have the epic the final battle, the three villains against the main seven, and then you could have had the rest of the creatures of Equestria, ponies, dragons, and all that, come to their aid, a la Lord of the Rings / Avengers Endgame style. And just when it looks like they've won, you could have Grogar into the picture, and then that is where you could really have another, I guess you could say, and many fans actually pictured this to be the possibility, you could have had another Tyrek Twilight-like battle from Season 4 between Grogar and Twilight, if not Grogar and the main seven. And that would have been interesting. And fans actually, believe it or not, have speculated and theorized that being a possibility. And on top of that, you could have had, and I'm sure fans thought about this too after Frenemies, you could have Twilight do the one thing that Gusty the Great couldn't do. You could have had Twilight, destroy the bell, or at least depower the bell the way it was in the ending of the end. And to the point that after the bell is destroyed, the power or the magic that it stole from the likes of Discord and Celestia Luna, it gets restored to them, just like, it's restored to them anyway. Or you could have still had, the likes of Discord be the one to pick it up, restore his magic, and then restore the princess's magic. And then you could have proceeded with doing the punishment that they did to the villains. But this time you add Grogar to the equation as well, to where now it's not just Cozy Glow, T-Rex, and Chrysalis that are a petrified statue, but you have Grogar right next to the likes of T-Rex, maybe. Or they're standing on top of him, or they're standing on a platform kind of deal. Something like that. That's what that's what could have happened. And again, like I was mentioning earlier before the interruption, fans basically have theorized and speculated that you could have still done a lot of what you did, added in a few of the things that I've mentioned, and still done some of the same stuff. Like I said, you could have added in a final confrontation with Grogar after the 3 villains are defeated. You have Twilight beat him by destroying the bell, if not draining the bell or depowering the bell. And by doing so, the magic gets restored or to Discord and the princesses, if you will. You could have had that, and you still could have had the villains, along with Grogar, get petrified. So a lot of fans, basically, in the end, ladies and gentlemen, felt that, basically felt and speculated and theorized that when the announcement of Grogar showing up in Season 9 was going to happen, these are things, even as the season progressed, that they were hoping they would see. But they never got a chance to. They never got a chance to, because everything they were hoping for in the end was for naught, because of Discord being revealed to be Grogar the whole time. So in the end, was it a good idea? Was it a decent twist? Some will agree it was, some will agree it wasn't. I mean, those that will agree that it was a good twist and it was a good direction to go in, despite maybe some flaws, is because they look at Grogar and they see a guy that, if you've seen recent franchises, is basically very OP. And what I mean by very OP, aka overpowering, he's basically a villain that a hero like Twilight would have to basically sacrifice her damn life, excuse my language, God, would have to sacrifice her life just to destroy. She would have to. So, again, in the end, was it a good idea? So, in the end, people do agree that it was probably the best direction to go in, because why would you bring in a villain that, as I guess the directors, as the creative staff put it, maybe some of the new fans of MLP are not familiar with, except if they get told by the parents and all that who it is. Why bring in a villain that's basically looked at as being very OP to be the final boss? So some do agree with the decision and maybe the reasoning for it all happening the way they did, but others don't. Others feel like basically it was just bait and switch. It's like it was clickbait. It was bait and switch. It was trolling when it was revealed that Discord was Grogar. And, to me, it's, in the end, it's up to how you feel about it. I mean, again, basically you have Jim Miller and all of them having to deactivate or mute their accounts for a time being, because, like I said, and everybody else has mentioned, when the leaks came out thanks to the Netherlands goofing up when they did, a lot of fans were not happy. Either they could understand Dutch or they had to have a translation later on. No fans were happy. They were not. They're like, wait a minute, so you build up this big bad villain throughout the season only to reveal that it's been Discord the whole time? So, It's no wonder, like I said, that they got the threats that they did, the death threats and all that, which I would admit is very overexceeding. Like, you don't need to go there. Just voice your disappointment. Just say, look, just voice it. Just say, look, I'm disappointed with what you did. I would like to know why you decided to do it, stuff like that. And so, I get from both sides, or I'm trying to understand from both sides, how they feel about it, how they feel about the revelation, and whether or not it ruined, whether or not it did or did, whether or not it ruined Discord's character. But again, it's like Jim Miller said about certain other things in the show, like Rarity and Spike after Dragon dropped. And even, after the last problem, stuff like that. It's up to fans' interpretation and how they see it. Some fans will interpret the twist of Discord, the twist and revelation of Discord being Grogar the whole time as good, as a good thing. And some may see it as not a good thing. So we'll have to wait and see. So, not wait and see, but we'll just have to, look at it the way we feel. Well, basically, what I'm trying to say is we'll just have to look at it in the way we feel it was presented. So, if we feel that it was presented good, it was a good twist, it was a nice, thing, it was a good direction to go in, then fine, that's how we're going to look at it. But if some of us feel that it was wrong, it was a stupid idea, and that it ruined. Well, like I was saying, Jim Miller basically says it's up to interpretation. So like I said, some of us could look at it as being a good twist and pretty much feeling it's a good direction and decision to have gone in. And, some will agree that it wasn't and feel that it regressed. It threw everything that developed a character like Discord into potentially what he could be, what we saw in Best Gift Ever and other sorts of examples, out the window. So, anyway, though, I guess it's just, in the end, it's up to how we look at it, whether we agree with it or we don't. So, anyway, I thought I'd just do this response. I know it went a lot longer than should have. I do apologize. And yes, as I say in the beginning, and it's going to be in the description, it is uncut and unscripted, but let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What are your thoughts on Miss Anthropony's video on the whole Discord Grogar revelation and how it may or may not ruined his character? And what do you have to say about, and what are your thoughts on what I have to say on it? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you, and I am out.